What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT. Sunday night football, the Pittsburgh Steelers humiliate Aaron Rodgers' dream team. 37-15 was the final score. And this is the dagger on the New York Jets season. And this is just a humiliating loss for Aaron Rodgers. This is the worst loss of Aaron Rodgers' career because you have to think about this. Within the last 2 weeks, Aaron Rodgers has drastically changed the New York Jets. He got Robert Saleh fired, and he forced this franchise to give up future capital to trade for Devontae Adams. So pretty much the Jets are mortgaging their future on this working out, and yet you end up getting crushed by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Russell Wilson's first ever start with this team officially, not having a lot of reps with the first team due to him having to miss some time in training camp and a good duration of the preseason due to a calf injury, and yet he shredded your defense tonight. And I doubted Russell Wilson. I'm going to be honest. I didn't think this dude was going to be good. He started out really slow, 2 of 8. You know, he definitely didn't have a good start to this game, but as we got into the later portions of this matchup, Russell Wilson started to make some really big throws. He had a nice pass to George Pickens. He threw a few nice touchdown passes as well. And you obviously can tell that the Steelers trust Russell Wilson more than what they did with Justin Fields because Russell Wilson, I don't know how many of you guys peeped this, but this dude was doing a lot at the line. He was changing plays. He was calling audibles like he was Peyton Manning or something. And he had a few plays that he changed that resulted in big-time gains for the Steelers. That big run that Najee Harris had in the third quarter, I believe Russell Wilson changed into that play. And now it makes a lot of sense why Russell Wilson was Mike Tomlin's preferred quarterback. Even before the season started, when he first got Russell Wilson, he said that he had pole positioning in the Steelers quarterback battle. And Russell Wilson played a really good game against what I thought was a really good defense. And it's pretty evident that Aaron Rodgers has made the New York Jets even worse than what they were with Zach Wilson. Yeah, you got a better quarterback play, but you getting an upgrade at quarterback has come to the detriment of your team morale, of your locker room. It's a toxic working environment that the New York Jets got going on there. When you watch Garrett Wilson play, as many mistakes as what he made tonight, he looked like he didn't enjoy playing football because it's nothing but just a big circus going on that Aaron Rodgers has created. He's the ringleader, and everybody else on the team, they're puppets in his little game. Mike Williams, when he had that big fourth down catch, did you peep his body language, how he was frustrated, how the Jets were taking him out? He's just like, get me on out of here. And then when the New York Jets tried to challenge a play early in this game, the coach didn't get the challenge flag thrown in enough time, and after the play, Aaron Rodgers sees the flag. He picks it up, and he just tosses it to the sideline. Now, a lot of y'all may think that I'm making too big of a fuss over this, but I peeped Aaron Rodgers' body language when he threw that challenge flag. The dude looked really irritated. And Aaron Rodgers is one of those players that it's not hard for you not to tell how he's feeling. Certain players like Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, they're stoic. When they make a mistake, when things aren't going right, they don't always show it necessarily. But Aaron Rodgers, he's going to let you know how he feels with his facial expressions. And a lot of his facial expressions tonight looked like he was annoyed. And Jeff Ulbrich, this dude is in over his head as the head coach. That's why I said, to start this video out, I didn't say that the Steelers humiliated the New York Jets. They beat Aaron Rodgers' dream team. The Jets gave this dude everything that he asked for. He's running the New York Jets like he's LeBron James with the Los Angeles Lakers. Getting guys demoted, getting guys traded, trading for guys, getting coaches fired. This Aaron Rodgers New York Jets situation this year has a lot of similarities to LeBron James with DeMar Ham last year. You obviously could tell that you have a head coach that's in over his head, and you have a star player that has control over everything that goes on with this team, what happens on the coach, the personnel decisions. And there's a certain boundary where in football, you got to allow players to be players, and they should just be that. They shouldn't have certain say so to get guys fired. Maybe trading for a guy who could be a good acquisition, okay, you take their suggestion. But Aaron Rodgers, he hasn't played elite football since the last time he won MVP. And he didn't play bad tonight, but he did have some good plays, but also some bad plays that you didn't see out of the old Aaron Rodgers. That interception that he threw, the 31, the first one that he threw, was a really bad throw on his behalf. Aaron Rodgers, he needs to be held fully accountable for the disaster that he has created right now with the New York Jets. This is his team, people. He wanted this team. He wanted Robert Saleh fired, and he wanted to get Davante Adams. He wanted Allen Lazard. All of these players that are here on offense are mostly because Aaron Rodgers wanted them. And this team is 2-5, and New York Jets fans have been led astray once again, because when they traded for Aaron Rodgers, they thought this dude was going to be the savior. They thought that this was going to be the guy who could end their long-term curse. And when you watch this game against Pittsburgh tonight, you see several situations where the Jets just look destined to lose. When they went for that field goal attempt, I knew it was going to get blocked late in this game, because it's just the New York Jets. They are just a team that doesn't know how to win. And right now, this team is led by an individual. The Steelers aren't led by an individual. That is a real football team. One person isn't running the show. It is a team effort. Russell Wilson, he had a good game, but a large reason why he was able to overcome the scrutiny that came behind Mike Tomlin's decision to start him was because the team believed in him, the team believed in Mike Tomlin, and everybody has each other's back. You don't see that with the New York Jets. With the New York Jets locker room right now, it looks like, everybody's a little bit on edge because they don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to get them cut the next day. And how really can you have a legitimate conversation with anybody on this team without them feeling some kind of way about the mess Aaron Rodgers has created outside of Davante Adams, because he just got there? It seemed like the Jets were better off last year when they had Zach Wilson. Yeah, the quarterback play was trash, but at least you had a more united team, a more united locker room. Right now, like, Aaron Rodgers has made a toxic work environment for all those players on the New York Jets, and eventually things are going to start boiling over, and they're going to turn on Aaron Rodgers. You're 2-5, and your schedule doesn't get much easier. You lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which a team that on paper you were supposed to beat, but instead you get outcoached and you get outplayed by Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin tonight showed that he should never be fired as the head coach as the Pittsburgh Steelers, because he always has this team ready to play for games like this. And this was a statement game for the New York Jets. They have to come out tonight and show that the addition of Davante Adams just wasn't for show. It was legitimately going to be the key to turning this season around. And it seems like every time the New York Jets lose, is always a different reason to deflect the blame from the ringleader of this circus, that being Aaron Rodgers, who has created this, because he wanted this team, because Robert Saleh and the New York Jets owner and brass, they flew all the way from New York cross country to the West Coast to get on their knees to beg for Aaron Rodgers to come play for them. And they let this dude have all the power in the world to incentivize him because they were desperate. And when you're in a desperate situation, oftentimes you're unable to get yourself out of it. Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas, they knew that their jobs were on the line, and they didn't know that they were going to be able to improve their quarterback situation. Aaron Rodgers was the best they could get at the time. So when you get put in desperate situations, you're willing to sacrifice a lot in order for it to work. So what did Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas sacrifice? Power. They sacrificed the culture that they built. They didn't have a bad culture. They just didn't have a good quarterback. So you bring in this dude in Aaron Rodgers, who isn't a bad guy, but he definitely is a dude who beats to the beat of his own drum. He's not a dude who's going to fall in line. He's really tough to work with. He got Mike McCarthy fired. Him and LaFleur didn't really have that great of a relationship neither. And eventually they got tired of the drama. The Green Bay Packers, you would think with them moving on from one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play this game, they would struggle. But all they did was find another one that's on his way to being great. While the New York Jets are now starting to realize why Green Bay kicked this dude to the curb. The Packers never have a lot of internal drama. Even with them having high personality guys like Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, normally you don't see them in the news for having players that get arrested, guys in the locker room being frustrated. The only problem with the Packers when they were dysfunctional was because of Aaron Rodgers with Mike McCarthy. Remember, the dude was changing his plays. He was making things hard for the wide receivers because they didn't know whether they should run the play that McCarthy called or if they should, change their route and run the audible that Aaron Rodgers called for them. And Aaron Rodgers, as great as what he is, he's hard to win with because he makes it difficult because he's not a guy who's a great leader of men. Just because you're a great quarterback doesn't mean you're a great leader. You're 2-5. And you're blaming guys. You're rolling your eyes. You got Mike Williams hating being there. Garrett Wilson, he looks like a shell of what he should be. It's just really disappointing all around from a fan base standpoint, from a roster standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, what the Jets are right now. Because coming into this season, they had one of the highest odds to win it all this year. Robert Saleh was expected to win Coach of the Year, and everything has went left because of one dude, that being Aaron Rodgers. You can say, well, it's not fair to blame Aaron Rodgers for the defense playing bad. Who's the dude who got Robert Saleh fired? Aaron Rodgers. Who's the dude who's running this offense? Aaron Rodgers. Come on now. The only reason Nathaniel Hackett was ever hired was because of his relationship with Aaron Rodgers. That shows you how desperate the Jets were. And when they wanted to make changes, Aaron Rodgers wouldn't let them. This is why in desperate situations, you got to think things through. The New York Jets were better off just trying to find a Gardner Minshew or somebody else in free agency than taking this big swing with a guy that's nothing but drama. He's doing ayahuasca in the offseason. Once the news came out that he skipped mandatory minicamp to go do a drug in a different country, I knew the New York Jets were going to be cooked because your quarterback shouldn't be doing things like that. You would never hear Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, any of the elite quarterbacks in this sport doing that. Tom Brady wouldn't do that. To be a great player is one thing, but to be a great team player on top of a great, player overall as a leader, you got to lead by example, and Aaron Rodgers isn't the best guy to do that because he beats to the beat of his own drum. Your quarterback shouldn't be allowed to go skip mandatory days of practice to do a drug, even if he allowed you to do so. It's only a few days. You mean to tell me you couldn't hold on your little drug retreat for a few more weeks? And once I saw that, I knew it was going to be a disaster because this wasn't a team. This is Aaron Rodgers. And I really wonder how the Jets are going to be able to recover from this mess because they set themselves back years in advance when they missed on Zach Wilson and they thought Aaron Rodgers could come in and help make up for that mistake when they were better off just trying to trade for a quarterback, a proven vet, because it's like Robert Saleh, I'm pretty confident he could have gotten the offensive coordinator hired right. The dude who is replacing Nathaniel Hackett, he isn't too bad. But it's just Aaron Rodgers made the Jets even worse than what they were with Zach Wilson. And it's tough to hear that because, yeah, they upgraded that quarterback, but look at the destruction that Aaron Rodgers has caused with this team. This is probably the worst this team has been considering the expectations that they had coming in. Imagine being Robert Saleh. Last year, you got to go without Aaron Rodgers. And you think now that you have him, he's going to be the key for you actually having success. And instead, he turns on you and gets you fired. And then you got TMZ coming up to you after you get done shopping in the supermarket, asking you all these questions. Like, he's living a good life because he is glad that he no longer has to deal with the headache that is Aaron Rodgers. I'm pretty sure the biggest mistake that Robert Saleh probably regrets is making the trade for Aaron Rodgers because it ultimately costed him his job. He was better off going out there getting him a Kirk Cousins. Yeah, he ain't Aaron Rodgers, but at least Kirk Cousins is a really likable guy. He may be a little bit weird and nerdy, but guys love him. They rally behind him, and it's evident with how the Falcons have looked in late game situations. When the New York Jets get put in late game situations with Aaron Rodgers, I don't feel the same aura about him as I used to back in his prime days with the Packers. Now it's just like you got Aaron Rodgers, but he's a skeleton of what he used to be. He's not running as fast as he used to. He's making more mistakes than he ever has. Like, there was a point when Aaron Rodgers, it was so hard to pick this dude off. Doesn't he have like one of the greatest touchdown interception ratios, one of the lowest interception percentages in NFL history? And yet this dude's coming out here throwing 2 interceptions to a rookie. Come on now. And Garrett Wilson, he's a young player that's going through a lot of growing pains, but I don't think the pressure that's being put on him from Aaron Rodgers being on the team makes this a better situation. But, I was happy to see my Steelers come out with the win tonight because the Steelers showed tonight that you don't need to have all this talent to win. What matters the most outside of having a great team is being a team that has a great locker room where all of the players believe in the coaches believe in the players, and it's just nothing but love, nothing but appreciation for one another. When the New York Jets first got Aaron Rodgers on Hard Knocks, you saw all the players, glazing him, saying how great he was. And then he gets injured, and people still have that honeymoon phase after him when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. But now that they're 2-5, these guys realize that Aaron Rodgers isn't the captain that they thought he was. And there's an old saying that goes, never meet your role models or never meet your childhood heroes because they will always let you down. And Aaron Rodgers, a lot of these players looked up to Aaron. Now they're playing with him, and now they realize this dude's a headache. And it's a disappointment. And you can't tell me that a lot of these players don't feel that way. They're 2-5 right now. They're no better right now than what they were when they had Zach Wilson. And Aaron Rodgers is supposed to be weight classes above Zach Wilson. But they look better when they had Zach Wilson. Because you lose to Pittsburgh, you lost to every good team that you've played this year. You've beat up on crappy teams. You lost to a Broncos team that had -7 points or -7 passing yards at halftime. You're a joke. Aaron Rodgers has created a circus where he's the ringmaster and everybody else on this team, Devontae Adams, Jeff Ulbrich, and whoever else, they're just little puppets. And this crapshoot that he has created is going to further set the Jets back several more years, because what good coach is going to want to risk their next 4 years of their profession on the line for a dysfunctional franchise? You can say this franchise is cursed, but I think they're just cursed with an owner that continues to make desperate decisions, and oftentimes they don't work out.